Welcome to the Pete Della Torre Business Program Entrepreneurial Hour, hosted by Pete Della Torre, President and CEO of the Renatus Group. The Pete Della Torre Business Program will discuss economic development and business opportunities for South Florida. The Pete Della Torre Business Program is sponsored by Great Florida Bank, Esserman International, Community Newspapers, Titan America, and Holiday Inn Coral Gables.
Good morning, South Florida. This is Pete Della Torre, and welcome to another Pete Della Torre Business Program for Wednesday morning, August 15, 2012. The call-in number here, we want to hear from you, is 305-541-2350. We have some great guests lined up for both the first hour, my Entrepreneur Hour, and my second hour, the Power Hour. Before we move on with the program, I want to congratulate Mayor Carlos Jimenez for now being reelected to another 4 years, or the first time around was the recall vote, but this is officially now a 4-year term. So congratulations to him and to all the candidates that went out there and spoke their minds and were involved in this process. And again, not everybody can win, but the whole county wins when we have enough folks that are interested in serving that get involved in different campaigns. And, of course, all the other races, the judges' races, the representative races out there. Congratulations to all of you for, taking your time to do what you need to do to serve the general community. I also want to congratulate my good friend Billy Talbert, who was with us last week, and yesterday was a vote by the Miami Beach residents on a new resort tax. That resort tax, which was passed by about 67% of the total voters, it will be a jumpstart to expand finally the Miami Beach Convention Center. There's a few more steps that need to be taken there, but this now is a great start to an institution here in the county. If we can move forward with this expansion of the convention center, this will, without a doubt, help to spur economic development and start to send the message to the world, to all the business planners, that you want to consider Miami and specifically the Miami Beach Convention Center for your future meetings. So good news on that front. Now, of course, this show is divided up into two segments. The first one is the Entrepreneur Hour, where I focus on small business success stories and the multiple resources available for today's entrepreneur. The second hour, I call it the Power Hour. We focus at that time on the economic engines of South Florida. Again, we feature the large institutions, both private and public, the initiatives, and of course the movers and shakers of our community. The lineup for the Entrepreneur Hour today is dynamic. I'm going to start with a really good friend of mine who has some terrific resources to share with the business owners, especially along the lines of exporting. And that, of course, is Eduardo Torres, who is live here with me in the station. I was kidding with him before the show that he has had the longest title that I have come across in a long, long time. But I think officially it's the South Florida Director for the U.S. Commercial Service, a division of the U.S. Department of Commerce. So this is a big deal, folks. The second guest is my weekly segment with Great Florida Bank, featuring Maria Carpio, who's a senior relationship manager at Great Florida Bank, and one of their customers, Charlie Aturaola, who is one of the nation's most renowned wine experts. He is a customer of the bank and a very outgoing entrepreneur and very, very colorful. So you have an opportunity to hear him shortly in the first hour. And finally, we're going to wrap it up with Mike Johnston, sales manager for Barlow Business Systems, one of the really top business systems businesses here in South Florida, and also has been a partner with my radio show. I will tell you all that during the second hour, we have the one and only Bill Johnson, Director of Port Miami. He will be the only guest in hour number 2. Why? Because, number one, Bill's a great guy. He is very articulate, very enthusiastic, and he has a lot of real exciting information regarding Port Miami that all of you really need to hear about, and something that I think all of you will be very proud of because it is our port. So stay tuned for the second hour. Again, it will feature Bill Johnson. So without further ado, I now want to bring on to the show my very first guest today, and that is, of course, Eduardo Torres, and tremendous pedigree, great information to share with everyone. So, Eduardo, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you to all your listeners for being in this program.
Well, we thank them every day. I thank them every week, and I really appreciate the time that the listeners take to listen to what we do here every week. Before we move on to some really good, solid information, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Pete, I was born in Colombia, in Bogota, Colombia. Came to the U.S. In 1982 to study English and go back. And the plan was going back to my country and finish my medical school, but decided to stay here. And then I went to school in California. I graduated as a biologist, and I did a master's in biotechnology. And later on, I went into the private sector for a few years, doing international marketing and establishing distribution throughout Latin America for that company. And then I joined the U.S. government. And the last 14 years, I've been doing and working with the U.S. Department of Commerce in servicing the exporters in the United States.
Well, that's a tremendous background, a very diverse one. Understanding what the private sector is all about, and then taking that experience and bringing it to the public sector, I think it's a great combination there, because it allows folks, and there are many, there's hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions, that have only been in the public sector. Mm-hmm. So to have someone come in from the private side is I guess a good change of pace.
Absolutely, and it gives me a little bit of knowledge on what the private sector is looking for, and how they're dealing with challenges abroad, and how we can accommodate our services to everyone's needs, because the private sector has, depending on the sector they are dealing with, whether they are in the environmental sector or they are in the building and construction sector, they have different challenges, and navigating those challenges is it can be a long process. And so that understanding on both what we can do from the federal government and what the private sector can do by themselves to help themselves.
At the end of the day, we need each other.
Absolutely.
And we need to collaborate.
Absolutely.
And not get into some of the things that unfortunately we're hearing in the election cycle this year. Now, what is the U.S. commercial service doing to help exporters in particular? I mean, what are some of the things that you're doing?
Well, Pete, we are the commercial eyes and ears of the U.S. government, and we work through our embassies, our consulates, and our offices in the domestic service with the mission of assist U.S. companies to export their products and services. That is our sole mission. And for that, we provide different services and different programs throughout the federal government to increase the exports of U.S. products and services abroad.
Now, through those services, how can you help the entrepreneurs of the world, both established entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs?
Well, Pete, we provide the market intelligence that the companies need to be successful. Mm-hmm. That is one of the most important things that we do. The other thing that we do that is key to the success of U.S. exporters is that we match their products with the buyers abroad. And so if a company comes and has a good idea, a good product, and wants to find agents or distributors or buyers abroad in any of the 80 countries where we are in the position to find those potential partners for them, whether they are looking for representatives, distributors, or end users. We are able to do that. And we work, for example, the company comes to me and they said, Eduardo, we have this product. We want to find buyers in Santiago, Chile, or in Chile in general. And I contact our commercial service office at the U.S. Embassy in Santiago. We work with our colleagues there to locate the best potential business partners for them. So it's very specific, and we do this matchmaking at the highest level.
Now, do you have gatherings, events where you bring together, whether do it quarterly or a couple of times a year, where these exporters, manufacturers, can come together and network and get to know each other? And by the same token, do you also promote any sort of trade missions, or do you collaborate with other organizations that are organizing those particular trade missions?
Well, in terms of creating or developing events where people can participate, yes, we do several of those. Just next week, we have the Export University 101, we call it, is going to be at the Miami Free Zone on August the 22nd. Okay. And it's a program for the whole day from 9 to 5. And this Export University 101 is aimed or geared towards the companies that are looking to find out what is available in terms of the federal government and the private sector to help them with the export process. We have the Western Hemisphere Conference here. We had it in April of this year, where we brought all our most senior officers from all the U.S. embassies in the Western Hemisphere to Miami. And we not only had one day of conference, but the following day was the one-on-one appointments with companies looking to export to those countries and talking to them about the potential markets there.
So you guys are very hands-on.
Absolutely. We have, I was looking at the list of the events that we have done. Our fiscal year ends on September 30th. And we have done so far 110 events that our office has been involved in South Florida. So we are working with Manny Mencia and Enterprise Florida. We're working with Bill Johnson that you're going to have in the second part of the program. We work with the Beacon Council. We work with Bill Tavern. We work with different partners, because this is about partnership. This is about working together to help the U.S. exporters, to help the U.S. companies to export their products and services.
I would, take that a step further. I would say that if any business today doesn't have a component of their business where they are partnering up with other entities, with other organizations, I think they're missing the boat. And you are a perfect prime example of collaborating with key partners. Because there are things that you all bring to the table. There are areas where you have the expertise, and there might be some other areas that you need that other entity to fill in that gap.
That's correct, and we are working right now and collaborating with Enterprise Florida on the trade mission that they are taking to Colombia from December 2nd to the 5th. Enterprise Florida and the state of government is taking this trade mission, and we are working with Manny Mencia in Enterprise Florida to assist in the matchmaking during the trade mission to Colombia. They are going to stop in Bogota.
Speaking of Colombia, now you recently made a presentation of what the free trade agreements with Colombia mean. Can you give us a couple of your takeaways?
Well, Pete, we have now a free trade agreement with Colombia and Panama, specifically in the Western Hemisphere speaking. And this represents a lot of opportunities for U.S. companies to increase their exports, because the reduced tariffs and the transparency that this brings. But at the same token, we need to make sure that we manage the expectations of both sides. U.S. companies and Colombian companies.
That's not always so easy.
Exactly.
When you have all that enthusiasm and that energy, and they want to conquer the world immediately.
And we will be happy to provide them with the information that they need in terms of key markets, on key potential business partners in that country. But companies need to understand that exporting is not an event. Exporting is a process. And for them to be successful, they need to understand each step during that process. So managing the expectations of those companies is one of our duties, and one that is of the highest importance to us, because as we offer companies in the U.S. the products and services that we offer from the federal government to help them with the export process, at the same token, we need to make sure that they understand that there are challenges, that there's still corruption in some countries, that there's still a lot of bureaucracy and red tape that they have to go and navigate. And we can help them through that process, but they need to do the due diligence. There's always things that we can teach the companies, and we can help the companies understand. One of the things that I always say is that products, ladies and gentlemen, products don't sell products.
Right.
People do.
You got it.
And in order for people to sell products, you need to have people in your company that are knowledgeable about the product, first of all, what they are selling, understand the culture, be respectful of that culture, and value the difference between the different cultures, whether they go to China or whether they go to Argentina. And that is always key to open doors in other markets. And
I learned at a very early age, right out of high school, I got into the flour importing business, 15 years doing that. And for the first time, I traveled to South America, and I would go to Colombia, because Colombia, that's where it all started, but eventually it spread to Ecuador and then Central America and places like that. And what I learned in my 20s, early 20s, was that even though it was Latin America or South America, every country had a different culture. Similar language, okay, Hispanic, but every country was a little different.
that is
And
correct.
you cannot generalize a region or a country for even the United States. I mean, the United States has different cultures in different parts. If you're from the Midwest, you have a different background, Northeast, South, the West. And that's very important, and that's a great point you bring up there.
Yeah, cultural practices of doing business is very important. Now, I can talk to companies about how to do batch making, how to introduce their products, et cetera, but you have to go and travel to those countries to understand.
You got to get into the trenches.
The culture,
Right.
the how people will get up to shake your hand, how in Asia how they would present a business card, what is polite and what is not polite, considered polite or not polite. Here in this country, we and it's okay to present the business card across the table by just throwing it like if you were throwing a, in Vegas, giving you the cards, the playing cards. But in Asia, you do that and you close your business.
No,
right
no,
away.
but I'll tell you, even right now, I have to tell you that I see that happening here with business cards,
Absolutely.
and people just throw them on a table, or worse yet, they'll take them in their hands and just carry it like if they were carrying a plate of food or something there.
Mhm.
But now what's interesting in speaking with you is that you served as the principal commercial officer at Ho Chi Minh City.
Mhm.
Can you give us some insight into doing business with Vietnam? It's something that we don't think about regularly now. And what are the opportunities that you might see for South Florida businesses?
Well, there's always opportunities based on the industry sector that the company is focusing on. In Vietnam, it was a great experience because I learned to understand the culture. I learned to understand what are the potential business opportunities for U.S. products, and mostly what are the agencies and other institutions in Vietnam that can help with the export of U.S. products to that region. In the southern part of Vietnam and Ho Chi Minh City, there's a lot of opportunities for food processing, food packaging, and food labeling equipment. Even though they have a lot of rainfall and a lot of water, there's still opportunities for water distribution systems, for water conservation, from water treatment. So there's several opportunities. Building and construction is of importance to that country, And there's several U.S. companies looking into doing business in that region.
Well, that's pretty fascinating. I mean, we could probably talk a whole session on that. We got about a minute left here. Before we move on, now you are active in the Florida District Export Council and the World Trade Center in Miami. What are one specific way where these organizations, again, can help businesses?
Well, a prime example, Bill Johnson is a member of our District Export Council for Florida. And we rely on individuals like Bill, Manny Mencia, and Ralph McNamara, and others that are serving the business in the District Export Council to provide advocacy for the commercial service and to serve as mentors to other businesses. Because they might look at me and they say, well, what kind of experience do you really have in my business, or what I can do and cannot do? And so we rely on the District Export Council to provide that type of expertise to the private sector and work hand in hand with the commercial service to advance the goal of the National Export Initiative, which is doubling exports, and working with the business community. And so they serve a very key role for the commercial service.
Well, needless to say, Eduardo, what you do and all of the resources available there are phenomenal. And I've learned today some new things. So one of the things I want to definitely do is have you come back on the show, and we can take apart, a couple of these areas and elaborate some more. Absolutely. Because I think it's worth doing it. And we always say this, but we are at a very critical stage in this country and in this region. There are a lot of opportunities. There are a lot of challenges, but knowing the right information will get you to where you want to go to. For the benefit of the listeners, what is the best way for them to get a hold of you if they have any questions or any interest?
They can go to export.gov. That is our website for the U.S. Department of Commerce, U.S. Commercial Service, or they can contact me at my office. I have two offices, one in Fort Lauderdale, one in here in Miami. In Fort Lauderdale is probably the best, okay. 954-356-6640. Once again, 954-356-6640. That's my direct line.
Eduardo, thank you, my friend,
Pete,
for coming out here.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I appreciate the opportunity.
We'll have you come back out of here, okay?
Thank you.
All right,
we're
going to go to another break, and then when we come back, we will then feature our Great Florida Bank segment.
We'll be right back with the Pete Della Torre Business Program, sponsored by Great Florida Bank, Esserman International, Community Newspapers, Titan America, and Holiday Inn Coral Gables.
Hi, I'm Pete Della Torre, host of the Renata's Business Hour show. Do you hate your bank? Don't care? Are you tired of never being able to contact your banker and getting charged a fee for almost everything you do? Always being in the back of the line? If so, you might want to listen to what I have to say about my bank, Great Florida Bank. Here I get personalized, concierge-style service. And now is a great time to sign up for Great Florida Bank's Merchant Services Mobile Credit Card Processing Solution. Their team will take a look at your processing needs, and if a mobile solution works for you, they'll give you a mobile card reader for free. If Great Florida Bank can't meet or beat your current processing rates, you'll receive $500. And I'm going to share one of Great Florida Bank's best-kept secrets. They never charge customers to use ATMs nationwide. Plus, if another bank charges you an ATM fee, they reimburse that ATM fee anywhere in the U.S. At Great Florida Bank, they take pride in offering personalized customer service and even give their customers their cell number. If you want a banking experience like mine, the Great Florida Bank Standard of Banking, call my personal banker, Obdulio Piedra, Great Florida Bank's Miami-Dade Market President. Call his cell, 305-514-6450, and tell Obdulio I sent you.
Today, everyone wants to be environmentally responsible, but you can't recycle your way to sustainability. Real sustainability goes far beyond recycling and requires us to consider the three competing factors at work in our world: the economy, the environment, and society. By choosing concrete as your preferred building and paving material, you will achieve sustainable results in all three areas. Concrete's durability allows homes and structures built with concrete or concrete block to withstand Florida's severe weather and keep your family safe within your financial means. Concrete roads and parking lots are also very affordable, have much cooler surface temperatures, and last 3 to 5 times longer than asphalt, providing a much higher value for the money on public projects funded with your tax dollars. Lastly, concrete pavements allow shorter stopping distance in both wet and dry conditions and are reflective, providing safer conditions and better visibility at night for both pedestrians and motorists while using less energy at a lower overall cost. Choose concrete, the material for life. A message from Titan America, one of Florida's leading cement and concrete manufacturers. Visit them at TitanAmerica.com or call them at 954-481-2800.
Forever Smile Dentistry is dedicated to serve patients in our community. Their state-of-the-art technology allows them to offer you and your family the highest level of care you're looking for. They will give you a warm welcome and ongoing commitment to your dental health and beauty. Dr. Amaral and her experienced team are committed to excellence by providing you with the highest quality and ethical treatment modern dentistry has to offer. They work with their patients so they can achieve and maintain a beautiful smile and healthier gums and teeth. They take the time with their patients to explain their treatment options and inform them of additional preventative care. They feel this will lead to a more trusting doctor-patient relationship and, for many people, relieve the stress about seeing a dentist. Have you ever dreamed of that perfect smile? Well, here is where your dreams come true. Visit their website, www.foreversmiledentistry.com. To make an appointment, call 305-274-0425. Welcome back to the Pete Della Torre Business Program, sponsored by Great Florida Bank, Esserman International, Community Newspapers, Titan America, and Holiday Inn Coral Gables.
Welcome back, my friends, to the Pete Della Torre Business Program. I want to thank Eduardo Torres from the U.S. Department of Commerce. If you were hearing his segment, he has got just phenomenal resources, information. If you're interested in or are in already in an exporting type of business, you want to take advantage of the multiple resources, the work that they do, and we will definitely have him come back on the show because there's just so much to talk about. And in a matter of 8-10 minutes, we can only highlight some of the key points there. But he will definitely be back on the show. Now, as we do every week, we have our fabulous segment here with Great Florida Bank, and we've got the usual suspects. No, I'm only kidding here, folks. But we have, of course, every week the Doctor of Marketing, Barbara Marcel, who's here live in studio. She will quickly become my co-host soon, and we're talking about that behind the scenes. She's clapping. We have Senior Relationship Manager. I hate senior. Maybe very important relationship manager or something like that. Maria Carpio, who I've known for a long time. I'm not going to say for years because it'll give away our age. Don't want to do that. So she is with us here. And one of their really important customers. This is a gentleman who I've been told has got a lot of cool things to share with everybody here this morning. His name is Charlie Aturaola. He is considered one of the top wine experts, and I'm always fascinated with the topic of wine and other things that go along with that. So thank you to all of you for being on the show. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Good to have you here today.
Thank you.
Charlie, wine is not only your passion but also your trade. So it's good that you can make some money from it there. It's like the best of both worlds, right?
30 years almost doing that.
How did you get started in the wine industry?
I was thinking about an anecdote here, and I wonder, sometimes, I travel out of Miami in a cruise line, and I traveled the world for almost 6 years. But my first voyage as a maitre d', I was told by my food and beverage director, we are in crossing from San Martin to Madeira, and he said something interesting. You're the one that you speak many languages. I speak 5 languages, so for me it's easy.
What are the languages?
Portuguese,
Uh-huh.
French, Italian,
English and Spanish.
of course, English and Spanish. And say you speak Portuguese, just go, out there and find me wine. So the cruise ship, back then I was working for Cunard.
Yeah.
And I was doing the Vista Fjord, Saga Fjord lines, and I was a maitre d' in training to become one of the maitre d's of the ship. I actually went to a supermarket that I was very familiar with the name. I used to live in Brazil. I was born in Uruguay. And he said to me, just find me wine enough to finish the voyage in Barcelona. And I said, really? Okay, so I came back, and over the little window of that ship, he said to me, did you bring me wine? I said, those 2 trucks there are for you. I said, 2 trucks of wine? What did you buy? I said, well, taste the rosé, taste the white, taste the red. I said, these are then great wines. He said, where you find them? I said, well, I realized that I like the taste of the wine. So our clients, about 1,400 people crossing the North Atlantic then, were very pleased with. And I said, you know what? Thanks to an Italian fellow, said to me, Charlie, I think you are in the wrong business. You are too much driven by the food because you're a maitre d', but every time you talk about wine, you feel more comfortable. Mm-hmm. So I did the jump. And like that, I work as a wine steward, sommelier, for 5 years around the world in Cunard. So
you notice how he smiles when he talks about that?
Oh, no.
If you could just see him, right?
I will tell that every day of my life if I have to.
Now, you recently starred in a fictionalized documentary titled El Camino del Vino. That sounds really cool. Tell us a little bit more about this.
Right. El Camino del Vino, or The Ways of Wine, how it's known in the European tour of film festival. It's a docudrama, actually. We started, and I was actually hearing the interview this morning from our filmmaker that, we follow Charlie around. This is actually filmed in Argentina, in Mendoza, and we're gonna have a premiere next week here in Broward County. And we talk about the idea of making a wine movie with a guy who knows wine and taste. So for the filmmakers and the team of Cactus Cine and Subterranea Films, it was kind of boring. I said, well, we're going to follow you with a camera and tasting wine. Who's going to watch this movie?
Like a wine reality show,
wine reality show. It was a wine road show in a way. So it's, Charlie's so international. Charlie's well known, in Europe and in the U.S. That's what I work in the trade here. So he said, why not we do something? We take off his palate, and he needs to start acting. So this docudrama already translated to 8 languages, from Chinese to Croatian and from Danish to Slovenian, and Spanish and English and French and Italian, has been going around the world for a year and a half. So El Camino del Vino is the history of a guy who meets different winery owners in real life. He has his confidant, a chef. He relies in another wine expert, who is a very famous French enologist named Michel Rolland, and his wife. Mm-hmm. So as my life has been for the last 25 years working in the business of wine, mostly working as a sommelier in hotels and resorts and cruise lines, your life as a wine person always goes between what the chef says and what your wife says. Of course, your wife has the last
Why do
thing.
the wives rule the world?
Oh, you got to come and watch the film because,
No, I don't think I have to do that. I think they just rule the world.
Yes,
and this is
they
another
have to.
example of it.
Yeah, actually, she come across very tough. And,
They really run the world.
No, but that is an amazing, I would say, story from our team from Buenos Aires, who decided to follow me for 14 days with their camera, and they saw the way I get up in the morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, I taste wine. I said, that's what you do? I said, yeah. I got to go until 11:30, and then I take a break. No coffee, no nothing. I said, yeah, forget about the croissant, forget about the bagel.
Next time you need someone to carry the bottles for you, let me know.
Listen, by all
and I'll
means, she comes to our house.
Now, the movie won an award, right, at the Mar del Plata Film Festival.
Yes, the movie actually, and this is, Pete, if I can add a little bit of this because it has a lot to do with my childhood to be in a great theater, Astor Piazzolla, which is a famous tango person. I mean, a celebrity back then, about 30, 40 years ago. He died very young. I was at the big show with 750 actors and famous actors of Argentina, Chile, and Uruguay, and Colombia, and Latin America together. About 450 films. And the last film and the last prize, FIPRESI means International Critic Award. So when my wife came over to tell me I was actually doing an interview, and she said, came over, we won. I said, what did we won? I said, the biggest, deal award ever for a docu-drama. And I said, wow, but what it really means, I'm a wine guy. I'm a wine soldier, as I call myself.
I love that.
I'm a wine soldier. And they said, you know what? This is great. So I talked to a fellow from Chile.
You mean you fight for your wine?
Yes, actually, I tell white lies like I tell my wife. I actually talk about white lies.
If you don't mind, I want to get Maria into the conversation here. Now, you're a customer of Great Florida Bank.
Yes, indeed.
And this is a loaded question, but why? Why are you a customer of Great Florida Bank?
Well, I was
I'm not going to have Maria answer that question.
Well, I love to help the community where I
Right.
live, and I have to say, when I came to the U.S. and I live in the Dominican Republic, I live in Puerto Rico, and I live in Spain, live in my country very young from Uruguay, where I was born, Montevideo, I always said, I like to help the community. I like to help. I like to be with a friendly service. I like to be people that they know how hospitality and courtesy, and I think Great Florida Bank has that. So I love the idea because I'm becoming a world traveler for the last 3 years. But I was telling Maria before, and Bob knows that we love to entertain our house and we love to make it more often. Why not to help a bank that has that service? And we're so happy to come on board. I mean, I hope we can bring a lot of money from the wine business and from the movie because we're talking about.
And Maria's smiling right about now. So is Barbara. So, Maria, how's your experience? And I know you really love your customers, but you really got to like this guy. I mean, this guy is.
I really do. Thank you, Charlie, for that. I mean, it's a pleasure that I go to my customers' homes, and they allow me to do that. You don't need to come to the bank. I am a traveling banker, if you will. I come to your house, as you know. We met in the morning, and the afternoon I came back to you, and your papers were all signed, and we were all good.
That's what I call service.
That's what I call a good customer.
Well, in case we don't have a lot of money, but we're going to have wine bottles, as you know.
It's not, everything is about building relationships. It's not about how much money you have. And, my thing with my clients is to make sure that you feel like you are the most important person in the bank. I know who you are. You have my cell number. You know how to get in contact with me, either by text, by email, or, a simple phone call by your wife or by yourself. Know
Right.
that you think you get your things.
I have a little anecdote that is banking, and I have to say that when we become so generic, and this is because I work with big banks, all my life because I travel a lot. I said, I went to war. I went to the Persian Gulf War, and I spent 2 years working for the armed forces for this country. And I needed to have, a bank that I can move money around. And I said, but those days are gone. Because, more you grow older and you want to see the smiley person, the person that come and knock at the door, and you come in the morning, and, and I have a very bad experience very recently. And I said, you know what? This is not that we deserve. And you just said it. You don't have to have a lot of money.
No.
You can actually start with $100, or you can deal with $10,000. But that's what's great about Great Florida Bank. That I love the opportunity to be here with you, Pete, because it's this is my life. I started broadcasting when I was a young kid. But
Would I have a lot to learn then?
No, my stuff was soccer. So
We can talk about that. Whatever you'd like to talk about.
No,
I just wanted to throw.
That's
something
This
in
is
as-
Barbara,
this
by
is-
the way,
this
folks.
is me, yes. Maria is excellent, and she used to be in private banking, so she really knows how to treat clients the right way. And she's also now going to be dubbed the banker of the stars now that Charlie, was talking about a second movie. So that's what Maria's going to be, the Great Florida Banker of the Stars.
Oh, I love
The
that. We're
Why
just
not?
right?
developing these branding opportunities as we move along here. We got a quick minute or so left here in our session.
And I think that Charlie should talk about next
Let's-
week on the 23rd what's happening.
Let's do it.
Charlie.
Yes,
Let's do it.
The Museum of Art in Fort Lauderdale, we have the premiere for South Florida, and we have the possibility finally to our dear friends and why not people that they love wine and they like to see the idea of to see something different, to learn about Mendoza, to learn about the winemaker's life and the enologies and how viticulture happens in South America every March, every April and May. To watch this movie, El Camino del Vino, we're going to start with a wonderful wine tasting. We're going to follow with a nice grill bites from a company up in North Miami. And then we're going to have the film, which is only 92 minutes of myself. I don't even know how I did it, but I have to say this film took about 300 hours of myself, 14 flights back and forth between Europe, between Canada, where I work also, and New York, where I usually work all my trade. And out of those, big, long hours of filming, we were able to squeeze about 92 minutes with a great drama.
When is the event? What is the date?
It's August 23rd.
Right,
So
next Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, at
August-
the Museum of Art. They
Okay.
can
In
go to
Fort
the website
Lauderdale?
in Fort Lauderdale by the river. And it's the website is so easy. It's www.moafl.org.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, so that is,
MOAFL.org. So you can go to that website
and click August 23rd, and you
And
go
you have all the
down.
information and everything.
Everything's there.
Yes, actually, we have plenty wine. I heard that there's enough cases for.
Well,
I'm there.
guess what I'm doing
there.
on the 23rd. Charlie, thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Thank
Maria, any phone number for the folks that wants to give you a call?
Yes, absolutely. If you need any assistance, if you have any questions about banking, please feel free to call me at 305-514-6413. And my email address is mcarpio@greatfloridabank.com.
Maria, tell
Beautiful.
everybody your phone number one more time.
Sure. 305-514-6413.
And everybody out there, if you're an actor, celebrity, or star, please give Maria a call.
Absolutely.
And they can go to my website too, Charlie's
Folks,
Wines.
thank you very much. This was a lot of fun. I had a feeling it was going to be, but thank you so much. And you're, of course, welcome back on the show anytime, Charlie, okay?
Thank
We're going to go to a break, and then we're going to bring on Mike Johnson from Barlub Business Systems.
We'll be right back with the Pete Della Torre Business Program, sponsored by Great Florida Bank, Esserman International, Community Newspapers, Titan America, and Holiday Inn Coral Gables.
The newly renovated Holiday Inn Miami Coral Gables is centrally located in the heart of the upscale city of Coral Gables on South Dixie Highway, across the University of Miami, and just 20 minutes from the Miami International Airport. When priorities turn from work to play, guests are central to everything, including great shopping, dining, and entertainment at Dayland Mall, the shops at Sunset Place, Coconut Grove, and Bayside Marketplace. The Miami Metro Rail is just a short walk across the street to get you to all these great attractions. All the attractions that make South Florida a favorite tourist destination are just around the corner, putting your guests within minutes to Para Jungle, Miami Sea Aquarium, Metro Zoo, and much more. For more information, please contact the sales department at 305-667-5611 or visit their website at www.hicoralgables.com. Holiday Inn Coral Gables.
Hi, I'm Pete Della Torre, host of the Renata's Business Hour show. Do you hate your bank? Don't care? Are you tired of never being able to contact your banker and getting charged a fee for almost everything you do? Always being in the back of the line? If so, you might want to listen to what I have to say about my bank, Great Florida Bank. Here I get personalized, concierge-style service. And now is a great time to sign up for Great Florida Bank's Merchant Services Mobile Credit Card Processing Solution. Their team will take a look at your processing needs, and if a mobile solution works for you, they'll give you a mobile card reader for free. If Great Florida Bank can't meet or beat your current processing rates, you'll receive $500. And I'm going to share one of Great Florida Bank's best-kept secrets. They never charge customers to use ATMs nationwide. Plus, if another bank charges you an ATM fee, they reimburse that ATM fee anywhere in the U.S. At Great Florida Bank, they take pride in offering personalized customer service and even give their customers their cell number. If you want a banking experience like mine, the Great Florida Bank Standard of Banking, call my personal banker, Obdulio Piedra, Great Florida Bank's Miami-Dade Market President. Call his cell, 305-514-6450, and tell Obdulio I sent you.
Welcome back to the Pete Della Torre Business Program, sponsored by Great Florida Bank, Esserman International, Community Newspapers, Titan America, and Holiday Inn Coral Gables.
Welcome back, my friends, to the last part of the first hour of the Pete Della Torre Business Program, the Entrepreneur Hour. We are on every Wednesday here at 10 a.m. on 880 a.m. The Biz. We want to hear from you. Again, the phone number here is 305-541-2350. Want to hear your comments, suggestions on what you're hearing and what you'd like to hear on future shows. My email, in case you want to get a hold of me personally, is info@PeteRadioShow.com. The website, the landing page is PeteRadioShow.com. Become a fan of the Pete Radio Show Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter at Pete Radio Show and connect with me on LinkedIn. It is now my pleasure to bring to the show a gentleman I met about a couple of years ago when I was at the Doral Business Council, and a really focused guy, very good businessman, and represents this organization extremely well. Is a gentleman by the name of Mike Johnston, who's a sales manager for Barlow Business Systems. He is here along with a guru in marketing who's doing a lot of work for them. A personality you've heard on the radio before for a long, long time, Ali Ramos from Quebella. Quebel. She does events. She does marketing. I mean, the whole nine yards. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Good, good. So, Mike, welcome to the show. How are you, man?
Thank you, Pete. Great to see you again.
Tell us a little bit about yourself before we find out more about Barlow.
Very good. Well, I've been in this business about 30 years. Started selling fax machines, back in the late 70s, and been in just a veteran of the wars, I guess you could say, in the office equipment business.
The wars is an understatement.
It can be
it's
sometimes.
an absolute understatement. There were fax machines back in the late 70s? Or was it the telex?
It was a telex machine, and they were gradually being replaced by the roll machines.
Exactly.
So like the old Quip machines or the Xerox telecopiers, as you may or may not remember. So they progressed very quickly into the Group 3 certification, a CCITT certification, in the 80s, and became a household item in the mid-80s, and by the late 90s, more of a consumer type of item, although most businesses, of course, still use a fax machine. Although I haven't sold a regular fax machine, I guess you could say, in probably 5 or 6 years.
Probably not.
Everyone gets a fax board, they call it, for their multifunction machines. So
they're
they
scanning
have the
and they're just emailing the scanned documents, and it's...
Some businesses still use the fax, but less and less. So it's really come a long way, and it's more software-oriented today than it is only hardware-oriented.
Absolutely. Now, how long has Barlow Business Systems been around?
Well, I've known the owners about 25 years. There are 2 owners, Jose Lopez and Juan Barroso. We are in our 30th year of business at Barlow Business Systems. Very proud of that fact. Over the last 30 years, a lot of companies have been absorbed through consolidation. A lot of companies have just plain gone out of business. So Barlow has stood out from the crowd in its ability to stay in business and provide excellent service to its customers.
Now, you do a lot of stuff. I mean, you guys have a lot of products and a lot of things. But in this environment, in this market, if there could be a sweet spot for you guys, what would you think that would be?
I think it would be to handle the document flow of a company from start to finish. Mm-hmm. Everyone has paper, or people are trying to get rid of paper. Even though we're in the printing business, we're actually selling more software these days to manage that paper. Mm-hmm. So if you are trying to scan that document in and be able to retrieve it, or retrieve a set of documents from various folders, we have the software that does that. If you've got a lot of different printers, we can consolidate all of those different printers. We can do a lot of things. So, the business has really changed quite a bit over the last few years.
Not that you have competitors.
No.
Without naming names, is it more the local businesses that are here, or some of the big names in the market?
Most of the businesses are unlike ourselves. Most of them are Fortune 500 companies, and that's where we really stand out in the sense that we are able to generally give more personalized service than are the Fortune 500 companies. The reason being is that, for instance, our technicians have been with us an average of 12 or 13 years. The people that you speak to today are probably the people that you spoke to 10 years ago. With a corporation, just because of the nature of their business, they get promoted, they get bought out. A good person will no longer be in that position very long because the corporation wants them to do other things. So with us, you tend to see the same people over and over, and there's more of a personal relationship with your service. And
well, it tells me a lot about the ownership of the business, and it sounds to me, without being there, that it has to be some sort of a family environment, culture.
Absolutely.
Some of the same people there. Obviously, they have to be good at what they do, but you've got to have the other side where the ownership is appreciating the value of that person and what they mean to the business.
Yes, and that's absolutely true. Otherwise, people wouldn't stay around. They're treated well and made to feel comfortable in a working environment.
Without getting into any specifics, we can make this very, very generic, but do you have a success story that, and I think just about any business has a really cool success story to share. Which one would that be for you right now that stands out?
We approached a large insurance company at the end of last year, and they had previously leased 4 large multifunction copiers from us, color copiers. But they also had, I noticed, printers on everybody's desk. And there were a variety of models, several of the Hewlett-Packard models. And their closet of supplies looked like something from a television show, all different types. Some of them, I'm sure, were no longer useful, certainly no inventory taken of it. So I did what was called an assessment, gave him an objection, a projection of what their costs actually were, and then what we could do with that. We replaced all of the equipment with brand new equipment, are managing all of those copiers and printers now, and just saving them oodles of time. And if they have a problem, they just give us a call. If they need toner, they give us a call. If they need a service call, they give us a call. So it's totally different than what they used to do. So I look at that as a very good success story.
Well, I'm sure there are questions out there with the listeners. What is the best way for the listeners to get a hold of you?
Our email address is simply sales@barlop.com. Barlop is spelled B-A-R.
That is easy enough. I love it.
Yeah, can't get any easier than that.
Was that your doing?
No, actually, they had that pretty much set before I started working with them. They were really organized. They just, we needed to give you a little bit more exposure because they offer such a great product and service. They really, truly stand out. They go above and beyond. And so to be able to share that with the community is an honor. It really is. Great.
Well, I know that you and I are going to make some time, Allie. We're going to bring you back.
We do.
We'll talk a little bit more about what you're doing and all of that.
No, not a problem. It's all about Barlop today.
Absolutely.
So let's focus on them.
Mike, thank you so much for coming out here. I really, really appreciate it. And keep up the good work. And you guys are doing a great job, so congratulations.
It's been a pleasure, Pete. Thank you
all
very
right,
much.
my friend.
Okay, buddy.
Okay, that does it for the first hour of the Pete Torre Business Program. Thanking all my guests again, Eduardo Torres, the folks from Great Florida Bank, Charlie Alduraola, and, of course, Mike Johnston. My friends, don't switch. Please do not touch that dial. You need to stay on for the next hour, the Power Hour, where we're going to talk with Bill Johnson, Director, Port Miami, and boy, do we have some great, exciting information to share with you. So we're going to go to a station break, and we will see you shortly. Take care.
We'll be right back with the Pete Delatorre Business Program, sponsored by Great Florida Bank, Esserman International, Community Newspapers, Titan America, and Holiday Inn Coral Gables. Welcome to the second hour of the Pete Delatorre Business Program, Power Hour, hosted by Pete Delatorre, President and CEO of the Renatus Group. The Pete Delatorre Business Program will discuss economic development and business opportunities for South Florida. The Pete Delatorre Business Program is sponsored by Great Florida Bank, Esserman International, Community Newspapers, Titan America, and Holiday Inn Coral Gables.
Welcome back, my friends, to the second hour of the Pete Delatorre Business Program, the Power Hour. Again, I want to thank all my guests that were with me last hour, and again, some good information for all the entrepreneurs in the area, the listening audience. If you want to find out more on how you become an entrepreneur, how to grow your small business, tune in every Wednesday, 10 to 11 a.m. Now we're going to focus on what is the second largest economic engine in Miami-Dade County, and that's, of course, Port Miami. And this is, I cannot think of a more exciting place right now in our backyard with so many exciting things going on. And I just thought it was so important to take the entire hour and focus on everything going on with the port. And of course, we have the honor of having here this morning Port Director Bill Johnson. He has also brought in two of his colleagues. That we have Kevin Linsky, I hope I pronounced that correctly, and Juan Curla, correct?
Close.
Yeah,
Corilla.
Okay, great. Now, Juan is the Deputy Port Director, and Kevin is the Assistant Port Director. So thanks to the three of you for being here this morning. We have lots to talk about. Bill, let me start with you, my friend. How are things?
Well, good morning to you and to your listening audience. Things at Port Miami we're doing well. Thank the good Lord. Things over the last few years have remained strong, both on the container cargo side as well as on the cruise side. Now, that said, we're always looking to improve and to grow, and obviously to increase the number of good-paying jobs in our community. So that's what we look forward to doing, increasing, if you will, the growth of our port, increasing the number of high-paying jobs in our community.
Now, we're going to hit on a lot of topics in the next hour, and every one of them is important. I don't know if I want to rank any of them being more important than the other, because they're all connected at the end of the day to what you just alluded to right now. But just last week, you had a great rollout event at the port. Latest news, U.S. Department of Commerce has granted Miami-Dade County the authority to establish Free Trade Zone 281. And tell us what that's about, Bill. There are boundaries and all that, but what's that all about?
Yeah, it's exciting news. In the last month, you're exactly right, Pete. We've had an incredible month. About 3 weeks ago, to the day almost, we actually had the tunnel boring machine, which is named Harriet. It's the largest tunnel boring machine ever constructed in the world. It's digging underground the port tunnel. And the first tube containing the first two lanes burst out onto Port Miami just about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I forget now.
July 31st.
July 31st. Thank you, Juan. So that was exciting. And literally come May of 2014, Port Miami and our community will have a new access in and out of our port with this 4-lane tunnel. 4 lanes providing direct access to the nation's highway system directly from Port Miami without a single traffic signal. Can't be a modern port unless you have, obviously, the ability to move both your containers and your cruise passengers timely, efficiently, and safely. So that's great. But the last week over at Port Miami, Mayor Carlos Jimenez, today coming off his re-election last evening, but Mayor Jimenez and officials were down from Washington,
along with Senior Senator Bill Nelson, were on port for a celebration where the U.S. Department of Commerce has authorized and approved a foreign trade zone that the Port Miami will administer for pretty much all of Miami-Dade County, especially from Cayocho north. And and I'm going to let Kevin allude to some more important pieces of this, but the foreign trade zone is an important step in moving forward. And I think this is our comment. While we are working with Washington and clearly with our partners in Tallahassee, with the leadership of our Florida legislature and Governor Rick Scott, we're working hard to build and to modernize Port Miami to make it one of the most efficient modern ports anywhere in the United States. And those improvements are all underway. We're very fortunate to be in this position. But it's much more than providing the infrastructure. We at Port Miami and the leadership at our port would be completely wrong and remiss if we weren't focused on actually increasing and growing both the cruise business with our cruise passengers and our cruise lines, and obviously increasing the movement of containers in and out, import and export. And so the foreign trade zone is one of those important new tools for us at Port Miami to further work with the private industry, private sector in this town to help grow our port. Kevin, why don't you tell us some of the advantages of that?
Sure, just one or two things just to throw out some statistics. Miami-Dade County has just an absolutely enormous amount of warehousing. And I'd love to say I coined this phrase. I didn't, but we are the shopping cart of the Americas. So our trade pattern is peculiar. You don't really find it anywhere else in the States. We have enormous imports come into our warehousing zone, and an awful lot of those do not stay in the country. They leave the country. They're re-exported to the Caribbean and Central America. Mm-hmm. So here's the strange thing. We have 150 million square feet of warehousing, and yet just under 1 million square feet associated with foreign trade zone activity.
That's quite a disparity.
Yeah, and we weren't the first to notice it. The National Secretary had this on his radar for quite some time because we lead the nation. Our trade district is the only one that produces an export in the whole country. So for every dollar we import, we export 1.5 times that. That doesn't exist except for us, yet we were not doing well overall in terms of foreign trade zones. So this new model that we come under, it's only maybe 2 years old in the nation, is hopefully going to open the floodgates for the people who own and operate these warehouses.
Well, I think that this is going to be a perfect example, hopefully, of how the public entity can work with the private sector to make this thing happen, because these are wonderful initiatives and ideas, but it's the execution and the implementation that will bring life to it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The new model attaches to it the word public utility. So Mr. Johnson, under the port, will be administering the foreign trade zone as a public utility, meaning he's trying to get the most access to this product for the most people. So it's absolute marriage of government and private enterprise. Which
is what we like at Port Miami. Our success over the last 6 years, our small management team, led by my deputy director, Juan Carrillo, myself, and Kevin Linsky, my key assistant as well. It is about public-private partnership. And for the listening audience, you own this port. Port Miami is a publicly owned port. It is part of the county family. Our boss is Mayor Carlos Jimenez. Our board of directors would be the 13 county commissioners. And as a public port, it's our responsibility to make sure that we're operating as openly, as efficiently as possible so that we can encourage, if you will, more trade, more commerce, and obviously more growth, more jobs in the community. And you do that, if you will, by listening to your partners, your stakeholders. Both all the folks who work with us on the port, our union friends at the ILA, our truckers, our cruise partners, the cruise passengers themselves, the shipping lines. We're engaged daily working with the law enforcement community to ensure that our port is safe and secure, that we remain a leader in the state of Florida and in America in terms of port safety and port security. But most importantly, what we're proud of over the last 6 years is that the management team, under the leadership of our mayor and our county commission, the management team of this port believe in a true public-private collaboration. Everything happening at your port, everything, is an example, a good working example of a public-private collaboration. Wani?
And just to add, Pete, over at Port Miami, there's only 371 port employees. Yet our economic impact, as far as it relates to job in the community, is over 180,000 jobs. So that tells you pretty much, our involvement as far as generating employment throughout Miami-Dade County. That it isn't just your county employee, your port employee.
It's everything directly and indirectly.
Directly and
right.
indirectly associated with Port Miami.
I think in terms of what that means in terms of dollars to the county, it's between 18 and 20 billion. Is that about the right number?
That's right, Pete. We're updating our numbers now, both in terms of job generation, as Juan just said, which probably far exceeds 180,000 good-paying jobs here in South Florida. And again, it's not just in Miami-Dade County. There's approximately 40,000 people who work in the maritime industry because of Port Miami, who live in Broward County and commute down. And we're told there's about 40,000. We're updating those numbers in terms of job generation and true wealth creation, which means that if Port Miami did not exist, we would have 180,000 fewer people gainfully employed in the maritime industry. And you would have billions and billions, obviously upwards of $20 billion a year less economic value to the region, to the state, to the nation. And again, it's our responsibility as good stewards of this publicly owned asset to make sure that we're focused on the right things to further grow this port. And as Juan said, it really is about having a lean, effective, professional, ethical management team at your port. And that's what's in place today.
Well, it is. You think about the public-private sector, and you are running this port like a good run, efficient business. And that's a great example of, I think, how more public entities should be run.
You're seeing the same thing at the airport. Jose Abreu, our good friend, the airport system, the Miami-Dade Aviation Department, led by Miami International under the leadership of Jose Abreu. They are our sister agency. They are also a county department, a county agency. And my management team, we work daily interacting with the management team over at Jose's office and his shop. Just great partners for this community. Of course, the airport system is the #1 generator of wealth and jobs in town. And again, Port Miami, your seaport, is #2. We're proud of that. But again, it's not about us being public employees and creating more public jobs. We're looking to create more private sector jobs and good paying jobs.
Matter of fact, I had Jose on the radio show last week, and I found out very quickly that the 15, 20 minutes that we were talking was just scratching the surface. So Jose definitely will be coming back, and what they've done there at the airport has been just nothing less than amazing. And being able to maintain the operations there. Now, let's move on to. And again, this is big news, and I was there last year when you had the representatives from Panama here, the dredging project that you have. Where are we at with all of that? And I know that things are moving forward, and it's all leading to the opening of the expanded Panama Canal. I believe it's in 2015, correct?
Yes, I mean you're exactly right on. We in this community were extremely fortunate, and I underscore that statement. We are very fortunate as a community, as a state. We've had great political leadership on a number of these capital projects, including the deep dredge. There are 3 critical projects underway. All 3 of these projects, which open in the near future, all 3 of these projects are fully authorized, either from Washington and locally. All are permitted, all are funded. This is incredible. And these 3 projects, including Port Tunnel, Port Miami Tunnel, including the deep dredge, which I'll speak about in just a moment, and also including the restoration of on-dock, on-port rail, all 3 projects underway. All 3 projects, again, perfect example of Port Miami leading the way, not just here in Miami, in the state, but in the nation, in terms of true public-private collaboration. Involving Washington, involving our state capital, Tallahassee, involving local, city of Miami and county, and of course, all involving private participation as well. True public-private collaboration. And in Miami, what you'll see with the investment of well over $1 billion of work going on, with money coming back, tax dollars coming back from Washington and from Tallahassee, and of course, port money well at use here from our port revenues, we are transforming our port to be one of the most efficient, modern ports from an infrastructure perspective in the U.S. And so, Pete, you're actually right. Panama is on target. They have a soft opening in the fall of 2014, targeted for October 14. The real fully operational Panama Canal is going to be sometime in the spring of 15. Your port, our port, Port Miami, comes online on the same schedule as the Panama Canal, 50 feet. We here in Miami, come spring of 2015, just right around the corner, spring of 2015, Port Miami will be the only port, I repeat, the only port south of Norfolk, Virginia, on the east coast of the United States at 50 feet of water. The only port. Now, that's a huge success for us here in Miami, but also for us here in Florida. And with that 50 feet of water, what does it mean? It means some of the largest container ships in the world that literally will be able to come to our port and offload, okay, literally double, triple the amount of containers. Not 4,000 TEU containers, but 8 to 12,000 fully loaded TEU containers. That's more what? More stevedores, more need for freight forwarding. Okay, we're talking thousands, tens of thousands of additional people being employed here in South Florida, in the state of Florida, because of Port Miami going to 50 feet. So it's a huge win for all of us.
I know it wasn't an easy process. It took some real salesmanship, getting out there in the community and through speaking engagements and informational. You're always going to get your pushbacks. Because a lot of those folks are just looking at the short term. They don't really are not looking down the road of the implications of all of this.
Yeah, you're right on point again. There's always naysayers. Our responsibility isn't to be focused only on today in 2012 or even 2013. We and our management team at Port Miami, with the support of the leadership from Mayor Jimenez and the County Commission, and great support. Let me underscore, great support from the business community. Okay, from the Beacon Council and Chemical, the Greater Miami Chamber, the Downtown Development Authority. Great support from the business community. We are in a position, unlike few ports anywhere in the United States, to literally provide the level of infrastructure to allow us to be able to grow. Now, while I've been out working this in Washington mainly and in Tallahassee, my management team, Juan Carilla and Kevin Linsky and the other fine staff I have back at Port Miami, are day-to-day working it, making sure that we maintain market share, maintaining the service today for our cruise passengers, maintaining our relationships with the cruise lines and with the container lines as well. You can't just, if you will, focus on infrastructure. You have to focus as well on maintaining business and growing business. Wani?
No, sure. Thank you, Bill. I mean, that's one of the key elements of our business is not only growing the business, but keeping it at the Port of Miami. Competition is fierce. I go on Spanish radio often, and we speak about the competitive nature of our business. We're out constantly out there knocking on doors, talking to our cruise lines, talking to our container lines, like the director was saying. We are anticipating berthing 8 to 12,000 TEU vessels. These are going to be larger than what we have today. Right now we have about the largest vessels that we berth and work at the Port of Miami, about 5,700 TEU vessels. Now, complementing the projects that the director mentioned is the acquisition of 4 additional new Super Post-Panamax cranes, which are going to allow us to work these taller, wider vessels and have the capacity, the reach to reach those containers out in the 16th, 17th, 18th, up to the 22nd row of that ship, and bring those boxes on port, and then distribute it wherever to the final destination will be. Something that we are.
And those cranes are under construction right now. Those cranes get delivered to Port Miami next June, right, Juan? June of 2013.
June of 2013, they will be at Port of Miami. They'll be operational probably 30 days after their arrival. And that's going to give us, we feel pretty strongly, it's going to give us a competitive edge vis-a-vis other ports up the East Coast. Not only the water, but the capacity to have fast and very efficient cranes load and unload those vessels.
Now, I know you're friends, but you do have a competitor just to the north, which is Port Everglades, and of course, and you've got Jacksonville. So it's like you said, it's putting the infrastructure in place and bringing on the new business, but it's the retention and the holding on, and the way to do that is to provide the service and and to continually work at ways to improve what you're doing.
Yeah, we are friendly competitors. I happen to be the chairman of the Florida Ports Council in the state of Florida. Unlike any other state in America, there are 15 deepwater ports that comprise an incredible system of ports in the state of Florida. There's not a state in the United States that has the number and the variety of ports, deepwater ports, that we have here in Florida. Florida is a peninsula, basically, and these 15 ports are really the conduit for the movement of product in and out. Let's not forget that well over 90% of what we as Americans, plus all the visitors that come to the United States, all that product, all that consumption of goods, that product is coming to America by water through one of your ports. What we want to be in Florida, and this is echoed by the support of our Florida legislature and the leadership there, and of course, incredible leadership from our governor and lieutenant governor, Rick Scott and Jennifer Carroll. There has never been a time, I don't believe, in the last decade, 30-plus years, where we've had the opportunity we have today. Florida today is number 4 in the United States in terms of trade, international trade. We rank 4. We all believe that it is possible within the next 5 years or 6, but in the near future, that Florida can emerge as the number 1 state in America for international trade. We're talking here the introduction of billions and billions of dollars of additional economic value to our state alone, hundreds of thousands of new high-paying jobs in our state, and we have our act together. Florida today, we believe, I clearly believe, has the best vision of any state in terms of its strategic vision for moving forward. I was in Washington 3 weeks ago as the chairman of the Florida Ports Council, not just director of Port Miami. With me was my good friend and fellow port director from Jacksonville, Paul Anderson. With me in Washington, working Capitol Hill for 2 days. My good friend, port director from Port Everglades, Steve Cernick, who's doing a fine job. He's just in his 4th month up there at Port Everglades. These are good ports. We in Florida, we're looking to grow the number of containers. We're not looking just to move boxes from one port to another. We are looking to bring back America's lost business. Business that we lost after 9/11. Business, and Juan, why don't you pick up on this? Business that left our shores after the tragedies of 9/11. And we're talking annually, just here in Florida alone, the loss of billions and billions of dollars worth of economic value and trade lost to ports offshore. Wani?
Thank you, Director. I think what the Director's talking about is the transshipment business. Before 9/11, approximately 22% of the port's total throughput was in the form of transshipment. This is cargo that comes from the Far East, from Europe, on the long hauls to a particular point. And from that point, the boxes are fed to different ports within the region. Right now, we have lost that business, right? We do about 2% of our total throughput, if that, is transshipment business. That has gone to Panama, it has gone to the Dominican Republic, Caucedo, it has gone to Freeport, it has gone to Kingston, Jamaica. And the state of Florida really is positioned really well to bring back that business with the infrastructure projects that we have going on, and also in conversation with CBP, Customs and Border Protection, which is the agency that regulates or establishes the inspection protocols for this type of cargo. That is going to be it is already one of our most important initiatives as far as growing the business and not necessarily taking from one port to the other.
We want to grow the business in all of our ports, and as we just indicated, there's opportunity to do just that. And so you look for those lost opportunities and make those a win-win for your state.
Absolutely. Okay, my friends, we're going to go to our first break, and when we come back, we're going to continue this fabulous conversation revolving around Port Miami. So stay tuned, and be right back after the break.
We'll be right back with the Pete De La Torre Business Program, sponsored by Great Florida Bank, Esserman International, Community Newspapers, Titan America, and Holiday Inn Coral Gables.
The newly renovated Holiday Inn Miami Coral Gables is centrally located in the heart of the upscale city of Coral Gables, on South Dixie Highway, across the University of Miami, and just 20 minutes from the Miami International Airport. When priorities turn from work to play, guests are central to everything, including great shopping, dining, and entertainment at Dayland Mall, the shops at Sunset Place, Coconut Grove, and Bayside Marketplace. The Miami Metro Rail is just a short walk across the street, to get you to all these great attractions. All the attractions that make South Florida a favorite tourist destination are just around the corner, putting your guests within minutes to Para Jungle, Miami Sea Aquarium, Metro Zoo, and much more. For more information, please contact the sales department at 305-667-5611 or visit their website at www.hicoralgables.com. Holiday Inn Coral Gables.
Hi, I'm Pete Torre, host of the Renata's Business Hour show. Do you hate your bank? Don't care? Are you tired of never being able to contact your banker and getting charged a fee for almost everything you do? Always being in the back of the line? If so, you might want to listen to what I have to say about my bank, Great Florida Bank. Here I get personalized, concierge-style service. And now is a great time to sign up for Great Florida Bank's Merchant Services Mobile Credit Card Processing Solution. Their team will take a look at your processing needs, and if a mobile solution works for you, they'll give you a mobile card reader for free. If Great Florida Bank can't meet or beat your current processing rates, you'll receive $500. And I'm going to share one of Great Florida Bank's best-kept secrets. They never charge customers to use ATMs nationwide. Plus, if another bank charges you an ATM fee, they reimburse that ATM fee anywhere in the U.S. At Great Florida Bank, they take pride in offering personalized customer service and even give their customers their cell number. If you want a banking experience like mine, the Great Florida Bank Standard of Banking, call my personal banker, Odulio Piedra, Great Florida Bank's Miami-Dade Market President. Call his cell, 305-514-6450, and tell Odulio I sent you.
Welcome back to the Pete Torre Business Program, sponsored by Great Florida Bank, Esserman International, Community Newspapers, Titan America, and Holiday Inn Coral Gables.
Welcome back, my friends, to the Pete Torre Business Program, and we're in the middle of a really, really great conversation revolving around Port Miami. For our listeners that are tuning in this morning, if you have a question or two and you want to ask our contingent here from the port a question regarding what we're discussing, the number here is 305-541-2350, and we'll get John and ask away. What we're going to do right now is continue this conversation of moving containers, and I know it's a logistical reality, and the key is how do you do that efficiently. I want to now turn to Kevin Linsky, of course, Assistant Port Director, to enlighten us a little bit more regarding that.
Yeah, maybe just a couple things. When Bill talked about these three major projects that are going on at the port, the deep dredge, the tunnel, and the rail, part of the strategic vision from when he came here 6 years ago was not at all accidental. I mean, these infrastructure improvements are tuned for our geography. So a lot of this, I can bore you to tears, and I'm going to bore you for a couple minutes and cut me off when I'm going.
This is great information, at least for me. Right. I'm fascinated.
I get into the details. The vision sits over there, and some of the details kind of sit on this side. But after 2015, a lot of the dynamics of international trade are going to start to change for the East Coast. So bigger vessels are going to start plying the waters. And those bigger vessels have different requirements than existed before. If you take a typical ship now that goes up and down the East Coast, you might see that it makes 5 calls. And it might have on it 2,000 containers, and it's doing a certain exchange. In the future, these larger vessels, instead of making 4 to 5 calls, will make 2 to 3 tops, or maybe fewer. So when they hit a port, they don't need the same type of access that they needed today. They're going to need something different. They're going to need 50 feet of water. They're going to need straight access to a highway system and rail, which is really the important thing. So if you look at a port today, a lot of times you get containers that you hit your regional market, and only 10 to 15% of your containers are going outside of your market. Mm-hmm. That's very typical on the East Coast. But for these larger ships, 30 to 40% of what comes off of that ship needs to get more than 500 miles in distance. So one of the projects that's coming online Later this year, and fully in line 2014, is a new rail system. Right now, 15% of our containers come in and out of the port from the Hialeah rail yard.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of expense there in trucks. You might notice some trucks coming in and out of the port from time to time. Well, a lot of those are going to the rail yard. In just a few months, you'll be able to load those containers right onto the spine of rail right here in South Florida, and you can take them straight to Jacksonville, and you can match them with trains that will be coming out of the Hialeah yard. So one of the requirements of these larger vessels after 2015 is really to hit distant areas in the States, inland, from a single port. And what this allows us to do is to hit Atlanta, and as Bill likes to say, 70% of all the U.S. markets can be hit by 4 days or less from our port. And that's a pretty impressive thing.
That's absolutely major. It really is.
Yeah, no, underscore that. From Port Miami, we get into the heartland of America, hit over 70% of the entire U.S. population from Miami in 4 days or less. That's Cleveland. That's Memphis. That's Chicago. That's a savings for all of our stores, from the JCPenney's and the Home Depots and the Targets and the Walmarts. That's a savings of substantial amounts of what? Time. Time in this business is money. So the win for Miami isn't just 50 feet. 50 feet of water is obviously the trump card. We need that. Access directly to the highway system via the port tunnel without a single traffic signal. Hugely important. Movement of what? Not just trucks, but also of what? Cruise passengers on shuttle buses and in taxis. That 4-lane tunnel, direct access. But of course, as Kevin just said, direct access via rail, okay, into the heartland of America, 4 days or less. It's just a win-win-win.
This is a collaboration with FEC, correct?
Yes, and again, let's look at this intermodal rail improvement. A perfect example, again, like our other two projects, of a true public-private collaboration. This project, intermodal restoration of on-dock on-port rail, started with a grant from Washington. Okay, several years ago, Port Miami was successful in securing the largest grant from Washington to an American port under something called Tiger II. It's a grant funding program out of the U.S. Department of Transportation, Tiger II. Almost $23 million of federal dollars, our tax dollars, returned here to your community for Port Miami. Our state legislature, under the leadership of Rick Scott, have contributed $11 million of state funds to this restoration of rail on port. And, of course, our private partners, Florida East Coast, FEC, also contributed $11 million. Your Port Miami's put in $5 million. So everybody has skin in the game. Washington, Tallahassee, local, and, of course, our private partner. We're aligned for what? Success. On schedule, on budget, as is the tunnel, on schedule, on budget for opening in May of 14, as is the deep dredge, aligned and scheduled with Panama to open in the spring of 15. So we're teed up. We're doing the things we need to do from an infrastructure perspective to make our port even more competitive nationally here in America and with ports outside the U.S. My job, my team's job, and really my deputy who helped leads the way on this, Juan Carrilla, our job is to make sure that we're continuing to what? Fill the boxes, move the boxes, and what? Grow the number of boxes. Right, Wani?
No, absolutely, Bill. And a little bit of the challenging part is to do all this work while continuing to operate the port and berth the vessels.
It's not like you're going to shut the port down for a month or two.
Exactly. I know, Jose Abreu, you mentioned Jose earlier. Jose also had that challenge at the airport, trying to roll out that project. Was still
I think he had a
million passengers. Same here at the Port of Miami.
He has an analogy. He says, working on all the projects and the terminal expansions there is like trying to change your towel while taking a shower, or something like that.
And keeping it dry.
And at Port Miami,
right.
it's no different. We deal also, the cargo and the cruise. And we've had to continue operating both areas of the port while all these projects have been taking place.
And let's not forget, this is a port where you have roughly some 26,000 vehicles a day coming onto our port in and out on downtown streets. The city of Miami being, of course, our front door. Biscayne Boulevard, 2nd Avenue. And one of the impediments for growth, and this isn't for me as your port director, this is from the shipping lines around the world, okay, around the globe. If Port Miami had not improved access in and out, our port would have ceased to grow. Actually, we would have started to decline come 2015, 2016, because the world's shipping lines were tired and they were fed up of what? The congestion on Biscayne Boulevard and on 2nd Avenue. So this is a win-win, not just for the port. This is not just a win for creating more well-paying jobs in the community. This improves the quality of life for our downtown city of Miami, which is an incredible, if you will, world-class city. So this enhances for those who live downtown Miami, those who come downtown to work, our tourists. We're proud to be partners with Mayor Regalado and the City Commission and the Downtown Development Authority in doing positive things to not only grow the port. And let me just say this, if I could, Pete, interject this. I know there's been lots of thought, and we're all concerned about the environment. I want the listening audience to know that this port is doing things in a meaningful way in terms of environmental sustainability. This port, your port, is one of the leaders here in America in terms of doing the right things to make this port even, if you will, more environmentally friendly. We just recently, with support from Washington, with federal EPA, received federal grants a couple of years ago. We have just completed the electrification of all of our cranes. These gantry cranes have gone from diesel to electric. That's less air pollution, less noise pollution. It's the way to go. We're making this one of the models in terms of environmental sustainability in the United States. And on that point, let me also say, the deep dredge, this deep dredge at our port being led by the Army Corps of Engineers, and this work will be underway by early 2013. This meets the highest standard in American history for a dredge. The highest standard ever in this country for an environmental dredge. So this is not something we take, if you will, lightly. We are here to not only grow this port, we are sensitive to the environments that surround us, the water, the sea life, the air, the noise, light. We're sensitive to all of these factors.
I think these are facts that are important to communicate because you'll get uproars and people will assume things and they'll generalize things and you know, this is important to let everybody know that it isn't just about digging and doing things that are just self-serving. This is for the betterment of the community as a whole.
Sure, Peter. In addition to the projects that Bill mentioned, we are completing a renovation right now, actually an expansion of one of our cruise terminals, and that project will be LEED certified. And along with the gantry cranes, they will all be electrified. They are electrified right now. We're also working with our tenants, with our users, and working with them to obtain grant funds so they can also retrofit their existing equipment.
That's terrific. I want to ask you all a question here that I know it's been on my mind, and it's got to be an ongoing challenge, and that is security at the port. I mean,
wow.
It's that is, we're living in a whole different world. You mentioned 9/11. Tell me about the challenges with that.
Let me tell the listening audience. Again, I think this is an area that again, we're not looking to take a pat on the back, but this is my highest priority as your port director. My highest concern, my highest priority, and that of my management team, is to ensure the safety, the welfare of the women and men who work on our port or who come to our port to take a beautiful cruise vacation. If you're not safe and secure, you're nothing. And over the last 3 to 4 years, our port, Port Miami, has emerged as a leader in Florida out of 15 ports and one of the strong leaders in the United States in the safety security area. We are doing more with less. Our security budget has gone down year after year. We operate this port, including our safety and security program, as if this was a private business. We're efficient. We look at the bottom line. We have not cut, security at all. We've cut and reduced the budget, but we've enhanced so that we have gone, if you will, from last place in Florida in safety security to the leader in our state in safety security, a role model for the rest of America. And we're very, very proud of that. You figure out methods and ways to do more with less. I can tell your listening audience, and we're not boasting, you have to earn your stripes every single day. Port Miami is one of the most secure environments anywhere in this community, in this state. And we work daily to ensure that by what? Working in cooperation, in harmony with our federal, state, local law enforcement departments and agencies, led by our own excellent Metro-Dade, Miami-Dade Police, and Miami-Dade Fire. Our fire department, our police department, some of the best in America. They're on port protecting our assets and protecting the welfare of the people coming to our port to do business.
That is, it's got to be in the minds of everyone, and obviously with both from the commerce side of it and the tourists that are coming through there all the time. We're going to go to our last break now, but when we come back, I want to pivot into, again, what Juan just mentioned, cruise. And, of course, Port Miami is the cruise capital of the world, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So we'll be right back after a short break.
We'll be right back with the Pete De La Torre Business Program, sponsored by Great Florida Bank, Esserman International, Community Newspapers, Titan America, and Holiday Inn Coral Gables. Forever Smile Dentistry is dedicated to serve patients in our community. Their state-of-the-art technology allows them to offer you and your family the highest level of care you're looking for. They will give you a warm welcome and ongoing commitment to your dental health and beauty. Dr. Amaral and her experienced team are committed to excellence by providing you with the highest quality and ethical treatment modern dentistry has to offer. They work with their patients so they can achieve and maintain a beautiful smile and healthier gums and teeth. They take the time with their patients to explain their treatment options and inform them of additional preventative care. They feel this will lead to a more trusting doctor-patient relationship and, for many people, relieve the stress about seeing a dentist. Have you ever dreamed of that perfect smile? Well, here is where your dreams come true. Visit their website, www.foreversmiledentistry.com. To make an appointment, call 305-274-0425. Welcome back to the Pete De La Torre Business Program, sponsored by Great Florida Bank, Esserman International, Community Newspapers, Titan America, and Holiday Inn Coral Gables.
Okay, welcome back to the last part of the Power Hour here in the Pete De La Torre Business Program. Again, we still have a little bit of time. If you want to call in, the number is 305-541-2350. And we're going to continue discussion here a little bit on security, and we're going to bring back Juan, who's going to elaborate a little bit more, especially with CBP.
You know, CBP plays a major role in how we do things at the Port of Miami. CBP stands
Tell us
for Customs.
What is CBP?
Sure, Customs and Border Protection.
Mm-hmm.
They are a division of the Homeland Security Department of the U.S. government. CBP, you know, their role is to ensure that we have a proper screening of containers as well as passengers when they come through the Port of Miami or when they leave the Port of Miami. We work with them very, very closely in ensuring that the passengers are safe, that the cargo is also secure. But the balance there of a good inspection, right, and yet still maintain a commercially friendly, a commercially feasible port is something that we have been working on with that agency for several years now, and we feel that we have struck that balance of security, yet a commercially viable port in order to keep our business growing. And just very quickly, if I can also mention the involvement of the U.S. Coast Guard. The U.S. Coast Guard is they're in charge of waterside security at the Port of Miami, and actually the Coast Guard is the entity that can actually open or shut down a port in the event of an emergency. So it's an interaction. Not only with
a lot of moving parts.
Not only Miami-Dade Fire, Miami-Dade Police,
yes.
CBP, Coast Guard, and a couple of others.
Well, let's chime in, or have you guys chime in regarding, you know, the cruise capital of the world, and there's a lot of news regarding that. Bill, I don't know if you want to just kick it off there.
Yeah, it's great. First of all, for the listening audience, if you don't know, we in this community are extremely fortunate that most of the cruise lines, the cruise companies in the world have their headquarters right here in our community of Miami-Dade County. I mean, when you look at it, you've got Carnival Corporation with its 10 different brands, with largest being Carnival Cruise Line, headquartered out in Doral. So you got Royal Caribbean, headquartered right on Port Miami, on our port. Norwegian Cruise Line, headquartered out there right by Miami International Airport. The parent company, Prestige Cruise Holdings, which has Oceania and Regent Seven Seas, headquartered right here in this town. So, again, when we talk about the cruise industry, it is another huge, huge player, not just at Port Miami, but, at all the key ports in this state and in America. When you look at the cruise industry and what they contribute to the economy of the state of Florida, Pete, I was fortunate. I was asked to testify back in the spring, right after the tragedies of the Concordia, before the U.S. Senate Commerce Committee. And I was honored, and I felt privileged to be asked to speak. And I spoke about the importance of the industry to America, not just to us here in Florida and in Miami, but to America. And the fact that these companies have their headquarters and they employ thousands and thousands, we're talking tens of thousands of people. And, and that's employment taxes. These companies pay untold taxes, not just to the port, but variety of taxes. So they're a huge economic part of the equation for our state, our nation. And that oftentimes isn't looked at. So let's look at the cruise industry. Here in Miami, sure, we're proud the fact that for the last 40, 50 years, Port Miami has led the world globally in terms of passenger count, passenger numbers. For the last 4 consecutive years in a row, that's 4 consecutive years, Port Miami has exceeded 4 million passengers. In fact, in 2014, not long from now, Port Miami is expected to surpass 4.5 million cruise passengers. You don't do that unless you're working in complete support and harmony with these cruise line partners of ours. So we've endeavored over the last 5-6 years to strengthen the business model, to win back the confidence, the trust of Carnival Corporation, Norwegian Cruise Line, Oceania, Royal Caribbean, and the others, the MSCs. Now, let me just, a couple more points if I can. And again, I'm very, very pleased. I'm actually very proud. Three new cruise lines have made a decision to move to Miami. Wow, that's great news for us here in Miami, at Port Miami. Next year, we will have MSC, the 4th largest cruise brand in the world. MSC Cruise will move to Miami starting in the fall year from now. And with it, they bring their newest and largest ship that just debuted in Europe, the Divina. That's great for us starting in the fall of 13. But right now, Regent Seven Seas, the luxury brand, Regent Seven Seas, sister company to Oceania, is moving here now, this fall. So we're pleased with that. We're also pleased in December, Disney Cruise has made a decision to have a second home in Florida. They operate in their main home, which is a wonderful port up at Street in Canaveral, but they're going to have a second home here in Miami starting in December of this year. So we welcome Disney. And finally, let me just say this. There are 4 brand new ships, cruise ships, that come to America this year. And 3 of those ships come to Port Miami. We're honored that 3 of the 4 newest ships built in the world come to us. This includes Celebrity, which is part of the Royal Caribbean family. Celebrity's newest and the last of the Solstice class. This is the Reflection. The Reflection calls Miami home this fall, as does Carnival's newest and largest. This fall, in November, we welcome the Carnival Breeze. So we're very honored to have Jerry Cahill, the president, CEO of Carnival Cruise Line, our largest cruise partner. Carnival Cruise Line alone will do 2 million cruise passengers at Port Miami this year.
It's about 50% of all the passengers.
It's huge. So obviously we love Carnival Cruise Lines. We love them all. It's great business for our community.
Wow, I mean, folks, you've been hearing the show this morning, and this has been just a terrific conversation regarding the port. We got a few minutes left in our discussion here today. We want to just kind of go around the room and get any final thoughts from you guys.
One more ship, one of the new ships that's coming in. The director mentioned the Reflection on the Breeze.
Oh, the Riviera.
Absolutely.
The Riviera, let me tell you, I've seen this ship personally. This is one of the most luxurious ships afloat today, and thank you, Juan. My good friend Frank Del Rio would not be happy with me, as the president and CEO of Prestige Cruise Holdings, which is the parent of Regent Seven Seas and Oceania. This, my friends, is one of the most luxurious ships afloat today, Oceania's New Riviera, and it comes to us this fall as well. And you got to see it. It's just a floating palace. So again, you look at it. We at Miami, at Port Miami, we have a cruise ship for you to a destination to fit you and your family's needs. Whether it's Disney or whether it's Norwegian Cruise or one of our friends over at Royal, our friends at Carnival, we got a trip, we got an experience here, and this is a port where you're not only safe and secure. This is a port where you're welcomed. This is a port where we want you there. We want you to have a good experience. We want you to know that we're opening and we're welcoming and that we respect you as our customer.
That is phenomenal, guys. Kevin, any final from your end?
No, maybe just on a personal note. Just as you can tell, it's like this is the funniest place in the world, I think, in the county to work, and probably whether it's private or public. It's exciting. I've never felt this professionally awarded. The things you do really build the community. And this is a 5-year stretch that I think the director is going to be proud of and everybody's going to be proud of.
Well, again, Juan, any final comments?
I can just only echo what Kevin said. I've been at the port now for almost 14 and a half years, and so the last 6 have been incredible 6 years, and we are actually seeing the fruits of all the seeds that have been planted, starting 6 years ago when our director came. All the projects are coming to fruition, and we're really seeing